Hey up guys! So continuing the Marvel movie marathon, or actually I guess it's just the Marvel marathon now because the MCU isn't exclusively just movies anymore. We're also getting TV series now, which are pretty cinematic to be fair, but God, what an exciting time to be alive, eh? Anyway, I wanted to do a review / discussion of WandaVision, give you my thoughts of the series overall. I know there's been about 700 YouTubers who've been reviewing each episode of WandaVision week by week, but I just didn't have the time to do that. I also don't have a lot of comic book knowledge to fan theorize where it was going each episode, and I know you guys are probably bored of YouTubers talking about WandaVision, but I have to make this video because I don't want my Marvel marathon playlist to be incomplete. So yeah, I wanted to talk about WandaVision. So yeah, spoiler warning for season 1 of WandaVision. I don't know if there's going to be a season 2. I think it works perfectly as a one-off. Not everything needs a sequel or a second series, but I won't complain if there's a second series. Unless it's terrible, then I'll complain. WandaVision officially kicks off phase 4, although I believe it was meant to be the solo Black Widow film, but that got delayed due to the pandemic. But also that Black Widow film is apparently set after the events of Captain America Civil War, which means it's set when phase 3 of the MCU occurs, but apparently it's phase 4. I don't know. If there's any MCU nerds who are watching this vid and can clarify, let me know in that comment section down below. But despite the pandemic delaying the release of Black Widow, thanks to Disney Plus, we still got WandaVision as planned. Overall, I really enjoyed WandaVision. It definitely was a risk, but I think it paid off in spades. It was fun, it was intriguing, it was refreshing, it expanded the MCU lore by introducing witchcraft, and I know we've had like magic and sorcery in films like Doctor Strange, but I'm talking specifically about witches and witchcraft. But the thing I loved most of all about WandaVision is that it had something meaningful to say about grief, and it explored it through a superhero lens, which made the series feel very unique. It wasn't just mindless entertainment, it had some substance. I'm not saying it's a perfect series, it definitely had some flaws, which I'll go into later, but overall, I think it was a hit. Wanda Maximoff, played by Elizabeth Olsen, was properly introduced to the MCU in Avengers Age of Ultron. I'm not counting the little cameo she had at the end of Winter Soldier, but she's always been a secondary character. Like, she's been there for a lot of it, but mostly on the sidelines. Like, her storylines haven't been given that much screen time, but with WandaVision, this has really given her character a platform. She's front and center, and they've really built her up now to be one of the most complex, fascinating characters in the entire MCU. This TV series has really done her character justice. Arguably more so than a solo movie could have done, because a movie is, 2 hours? But with WandaVision, we got 9 episodes to really dive in deep with the character of Wanda. We learn more about her backstory and how she's processing the trauma of everything she's gone through since the end of Avengers Endgame. Wanda might actually be the most tragic character in the entire MCU because she's lost everyone that's dearest to her, her parents, her brother Pietro, and then she had to kill her own lover herself, Vision, by destroying the Mind Stone before Thanos could get to it, but we all know how that turned out. Not only did she have to kill her own lover, but then she had to relive it moments later when Thanos rewound time and then killed Vision all over again. That one scene in Avengers Infinity War illustrates that not only is Wanda probably the most powerful Avenger because she's strong enough to destroy an Infinity Stone in her own lover's head, whilst also holding back Thanos, who already has 5 Infinity Stones in his gauntlet, but the fact that she went through all that and still lost everything, it just shows she is the most tragic character in the entire MCU. And when you combine those two things together, the fact that she's the most powerful Avenger and the most tragic, what do you get when you mix that together? You get WandaVision, a TV series which acts as a metaphorical journey for the 5 stages of grief: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance, but it's done with superheroes, or even villains, depending on which way you look at it. Arguably, what we see Wanda do to the town of Westview and its inhabitants is quite villainous, but from her perspective, she's giving all the inhabitants a blissful, sitcom, suburban, domesticated life. She thinks she's doing them a favor. Remember, all villains think they are the hero of their own story. Because while we know her as an Avenger, as one of the good guys, her way of processing her grief can be viewed as villainous. Because she took a peaceful little town like Westview and put some magical hex around it so she could live out her idealistic sitcom family fantasy with her and Vision, but she also turned all the inhabitants of Westview into characters of her own choosing. She thought she was making their lives more blissful and simple, but really they were just trapped in some sort of mental mind cage. They couldn't sleep, and if they could sleep, they would have Wanda's nightmares. They were just trapped in this Truman Show style purgatory with no way of escaping. So yeah, she had good intentions, but she didn't realize she was just being some cruel puppet master. I've got no strings to hold me down. She also left Agatha, the villain of the series, under a spell where she was trapped as the nosy neighbor character that she picked, which I get why she did it, but at the same time it just demonstrates that Wanda does have a cruel side. That's what makes Wanda so fascinating as a character, because there's clearly darkness in her and she's so powerful enough to manipulate and alter the reality of an entire town. She could potentially one day be a real big bad, bigger than Thanos perhaps. Let's talk about the format and the structure of the show, because I loved it, but I know it definitely did ruffle some feathers to begin with. A TV show within a TV show that's part of a shared cinematic universe. Thankfully, the writers knew to keep it playful and self-aware. A lot of people were so quick to label the first 2 episodes of WandaVision as boring or even bad just because it was old-fashioned and in black and white, and it didn't give you any immediate answers. Personally, I loved it. I loved all the nods to the TV sitcoms through the years, Bewitched, The Dick Van Dyke Show, Malcolm in the Middle, Modern Family. I love that it was perplexing and that it didn't give too much away too quickly, but it gave you just enough clues to know that there was something off about this world. There were so many people bitching about the release schedule of WandaVision. They were saying, this isn't a TV series that we need an episode per week. We just want all the episodes in one go so we can binge them. But it was round about the 4th episode where I started to see a lot of those naysayers change their tune. They did a complete 180 and was starting to say, oh no, I like that it just ended on a cliffhanger. Oh, I've got a week to fan theorize about what is going on. And I'm just like, oh, the hypocrisy tastes delicious. I personally loved that it was a week-by-week episode structure, because for one, it gave me something to look forward to each week in a 3rd national lockdown. It gave us 7 days to digest the events of each episode and then theorize where it's going. Plus, the very premise of the show dictated that it should be a week-by-week show. I mean, hello, Wanda is living in a sitcom reality. Sitcoms were always weekly released episodes, so the show itself was just trying to emulate that. It just illustrates how spoiled and impatient audiences are these days. Binge viewing has ruined the way that we watch entertainment because nobody has any patience anymore. Nobody stops to savor week by week shows. Call me a boring 30-year-old, but I love taking my time with a series. I like having a week between an episode to think on it, to figure out where it might be going myself, rather than having it immediately told in the next episode, then and there. Instant gratification, it's ruining us and our ability to enjoy things. It's just, we have to have it then and there. It's just we need a fix, and it's ruined it. It's why a show like WandaVision I've really enjoyed watching week by week. It was just something to look forward to. Even when Glenn and I get a new full season of something like The Crown or Stranger Things on Netflix, we don't binge through it in the space of a weekend. We really like to take it slow, but that's just us, and I know that's not for everybody. What about you guys? Are you bingers or are you savorers? Is that even a word? Savorer? Well, it is now. Are you a binger or a savorer? Let me know in that comment section down below. One thing that I thought the show did pretty well was handling the introduction of so many new characters to the MCU. Like you've got grown-up Monica Rambeau, Jimmy Woo, as well as they expanded Kat Dennings' character. Also, I have to give a shout out to whoever cast Emma Caulfield Ford as Dottie. She played Anya, my favorite TV show, Buffy, and it was just nice to see her in something again, and she hasn't aged a day since Buffy finished. Catherine Hahn was a freaking delight as Agnes, who turned out to be Agatha Harkness, the villain of the series. I'm not a comic book reader, so I didn't know too much about her, but Hahn was fantastic in this role, and one thing that we don't see too much of is female villains in the MCU, so I love what she brought to Agnes. She was cunning and maniacal and really funny. One of the funniest characters in this series, and I loved how she can just flip from sweet and do-gooder neighbor to crazy, nut job, power-hungry witch. It's wonderful how she can flip it back and forth so seamlessly. She has got so much range, Catherine Hahn, and I would love to see Agnes come back in a future MCU movie or TV series. And of course, it goes without saying that both Elizabeth Olsen and Paul Bettany were, as always, fantastic as Wanda and Vision. I know it's easy to be frustrated at the MCU when death doesn't mean anything, and it was really sad when we lost Vision in Infinity War, but I'm kind of happy that they did find a way to plausibly bring the character back, because some of Wanda's abilities came from the Mind Stone, and obviously Vision was made partly by the Mind Stone, so they do sort of share a link between each other, so it's logical that Wanda could access all the memories of what Vision had experienced, you know, with her being connected to the Mind Stone. So the fact that they downloaded Vision's old memories into the new Vision, or the White Vision, is quite exciting. And the thing is, Wanda doesn't know about White Vision yet, does she? So she's going to be in for a surprise when she finds out that he's back in a new sort of upgraded form, White Vision, yeah. So I'm excited to have him back in the MCU. The only major element I wasn't a fan of with WandaVision was the whole Evan Peters, Pietro bait and switch, which turned out to be nothing in the end. It was just one giant pointless tease. The internet freaked out when she opened that door and Evan Peters was standing there as her brother instead of Aaron Taylor-Johnson, effectively confirming that Disney were incorporating the Fox X-Men series into the MCU. We all thought this was the start of a multiverse crossover, until it wasn't. The whole Ralph Boner reveal, I don't get it. Why dangle the prospect of that in front of us? Something they knew which would excite us all, to then only go, nah, just kidding. It's like they wanted to taunt the audience. Nobody likes being teased, and I don't know why they would want to piss off their fan base, particularly when Disney know just how tempestuous their fan bases can actually be. I mean, do they want to malign the MCU like they did with the Star Wars universe? They're playing with fire here. How did you guys feel about the Pietro reveal or non-reveal? Whatever you have to say, do let me know in that comment section down below. Also, while you're there, please do help my video out by hitting that thumbs up button. And also, if you like my content, do hit subscribe. My personal favorite episode of the series was the penultimate one, episode 8, previously on, because it gave us so much backstory and context on Wanda. It also gave us a lot of answers, like why Wanda altered reality to be like a sitcom, and the answer was that it was her coping mechanism when she was a child, so it made sense why she wanted to escape into a perfect suburban family sitcom where all problems are resolved and the return to the status quo by the end of the episode. There was comfort in that lie that she was telling herself. It also explained why Wanda's Sokovian accent is so inconsistent throughout the whole MCU. This episode was so good because it texturized Wanda as a character. We really saw the trauma that she experienced as a child and how it shaped her into the person that she's become now. It really enriched her as a character and it just made you care for her even more. That episode did not disappoint. The finale, on the other hand, whilst it was entertaining, I didn't think it stuck the landing fully. I thought it was a little bit cookie cutter. Like, I don't need big CGI battles, to feel wowed. I was far more interested in the battle of the minds between White Vision and Vision, when they have that conversation about Theseus's ship. That was really stimulating and far more interesting than punch, fly, green screen, visual effects, pow! Also, there is a bit of a plot hole in the final episode. If Wanda had no pre-existing knowledge of the spells or that magic book that Agatha had, how did she know how to cast the rune spell on the walls of the hex? Like, when did she learn that? That I didn't understand. She's just a fast learner, I presume. But that goodbye scene, that was heart-tuggy stuff. That was so moving, with the walls of the hex slowly closing in on them and the sitcom reality is dissipating and they're saying their goodbyes to each other. It was just very cathartic TV, because that was the moment where Wanda had been through all the 5 stages of grief and she was finally at the point of acceptance. She still has some healing to go, but it was a very effective finale. I wept. Even though their goodbye doesn't really mean a whole lot because Vision has been reincarnated in White Vision, it was still a very powerful goodbye scene. And you just know that White Vision is gonna come back when Wanda is at her most powerful and most evil, and he's gonna be the one to intervene and talk her down because he's her one true love. So correct me if I'm wrong, but what we learned from WandaVision is that Wanda was always the Scarlet Witch from birth, but she was kind of magically dormant through most of her childhood. And she thought she got her powers from the Mind Stone when Hydra were experimenting on her. But now it turns out she's doubly powerful because she's the Scarlet Witch, but also she's the product of Infinity Stone experimentation. Is that correct? Is that where we're at with how powerful Wanda is? I still have no clue what Monica Rambeau's powers actually are. She went through the hex a few times and mutated into a superhero, but I'm not sure what her powers are. I'm presuming if they were given to her through the hex, which was powered by Wanda, and Wanda herself is powered by the Mind Stone, that she's gonna have similar powers to Wanda, but I'm not sure. What can she do? Is she magic? Is she, can she absorb energy? Is she strong? Is she fast? I don't really know. They didn't actually really give us a whole lot of clarity on what it is she can do. I guess they're sort of saving that for Captain Marvel 2, because that was the sort of teaser, post-credits teaser that she's going up into space with the Skrulls, is that right? If you guys have any insight, do let me know in that comment section below. Also, can anyone tell me what is the difference between sword and shield? Are they the new shield? I really don't know. Also, were Wanda and Vision's kids real? Because I thought they were just purely fictional. They're just characters in the story that she made up. But in the post-credit sequence, when you see Wanda and her astral projection letting the spells from the book or whatever, you can hear Wanda's kids screaming out for help. And I'm like, what? What? I don't fully understand what's going on, but I guess they're leaving some unanswered questions for future movies like Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, because Wanda's going to be in that apparently. Maybe her kids are in fact alive in some other alternate universe or something. Maybe that's what she was hearing. I don't know, that's a theory. But one thing I've been hearing from a lot of the YouTubers who were reviewing WandaVision week by week is not to get too carried away with fan theorizing, because half the things that people were theorizing didn't come to fruition. In the end, guys, even though there were a few issues and unanswered questions, I still really enjoyed WandaVision. We're into phase 4 now. We've had 23 previous movies, and the MCU is still finding ways of reinventing itself and keeping things fresh. So let's ask them 3 questions. Firstly, would I watch this again? Yes, WandaVision was an awesome TV series, but I would definitely watch it again if I ever do plan to do the Marvel movie marathon again. I mean, it's not really the Marvel movie marathon anymore, it's just the Marvel marathon, because it's not just movies, it's TV as well. Question number 2, do I recommend it for you guys? If you're a fan of the MCU, then I'd say it's a must-watch. But if you're on the fence about it, I would say WandaVision is worth giving a go. It's got a lot more substance than you might think. It's got an intriguing premise. The characters are great, it does a great job of developing those characters, and there's loads of emotion in it as well. So I would say it is worth checking out. I recommend it. And third question, what score to give it out of 10? WandaVision is a very unique and entertaining entry in the MCU, and it keeps you guessing all the way through to the end. So I'm going to give WandaVision a score of 8 out of 10. Thanks so much for watching this vid, guys. Be sure to let me know what you thought of WandaVision in that comment section down below. And if you are a fan of the MCU, be sure to check out all my individual reviews for every single Marvel movie. I've done them all, so I'll pop a link to that playlist right here. Help support my channel by hitting that thumbs up button. If you want more movie, TV, and Oscars content, don't forget to click subscribe, and if you want to follow me on any social media, Twitter, Instagram, or Letterboxd, all those links in that video description down below. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching. For more things related to movies, TV, and popcorn culture, I'm Luke Airfield, and I'll see you next time.